So today we're going to do target 9B notes day 1. So the focus of the target today is to write and graph exponential functions from a table or a graph. So for the first example, we're going to do graph f of x equals 4 to the x power plus 1 and fill in the table with the correct values. So they give us the x values that they want us to use. We got to figure out what the f of x values are. In other words, they want us to find its matching y value. So in order for us to do that, I'm going to do it 2 different ways. The first way is going to be going through the TI Inspire. So you should have this little blue icon somewhere on your desktop. When you go to it, you're on the home page. You're going to select New Document, Add a Graph, and it's going to tell you already f of 1x equals. You're going to type in 4, arrow up, x. And you see how the blinker is still on the X? You don't want it to be next to the X. I'm going to select the right button and then +1, enter. So we have the graph here already, but I want to get the table values for it. So the way you're going to do is you're going to press the control button, which is the CTRL, and then you're going to select the letter T. This is going to make a table pop up with the values. But if you notice from our notes, I need to find starting at -2. So on your calculator, you're going to go scroll up to -2. So the first decimal we have would be 1.0625. 1.0625. -1 was 1.25. 0, 2. 1, 5, and 2, 17. After you get the table values, you're going to do your best to kind of estimate where these points are, especially if it's giving you a decimal. But if it's an exact decimal, you should be fine. So for example, it's going to be -2, 1.0625. which is very close to 1. So I'm going to try to do my best to estimate it. So at -2, I'm going to go up to as best as I can. -1, 1.25. Going to be slightly a little bit more higher up. 0, 2. 1, 5. 2, 17. Afterwards, I'm going to try to mimic that graph as best as possible and connect the dots. So this is all you have to do for this one. Find the table values and then plot the dots and connect the dot to match the table. If we go back to our calculator, we could kind of see this already as the graph is curving. So that's the one way you could do it. You could do it through the Inspire, but you could also do it through decimals. So for the second example, I'll teach you how to do it through decimals. So here we have f of x equals 2 parentheses 1/3 to the x power. So I'm going to graph this equation onto decimals. So I already kind of have it open here. It's decimals.com/calculator, and we're going to start typing it in. So remember, it's f of x is the same thing as y. So I'm going to write y equals 2 parentheses 1 divided by 3, close that parentheses, and I'm going to press this A to B button. However, you have to be super careful. As you could kind of see already, I kind of messed up already. The exponent should not go to the 3 on the bottom. It should be on the top. So I'm actually going to go back and erase that. So 1 divided by 3, close the parentheses. And now I'm going to do the A to the B power. And I'm type in the letter X. On your graph, it's kind of hard to very see. However, again, we could draw this based off of the table. So in order for you to get the table, you see this settings button. You're going to click on it. And it has a little chart area here. You're going to press the button to convert to table. Now, if you do this, you get the table values. So for -2, we're going to write 18. For -1, we're going to write 6. For 0, we're going to write 2. For 1, we're going to write 0.67. I'm going to round it a little bit. And for 2, we're going to do 0.22. Again, I'm rounding. Now that we have the table values, I'm going to try to graph this as much as I can. However, you notice that our graph only goes up to 17, but I'm going to do my best to estimate where 18 is. So I'm going to say it's there, and I'm going to write 18 here. -1, 6, 0, 2, 1, 67. Again, I'm doing my best to estimate it. And then 2, 22. Again, I'm going to connect the dots to mimic the graph as much as I can. And that right here, again, you could do this based either through TI Inspire if you have access to it. It should be on your desktop, but not all of them are active. But you could also use Desmos.com for you to be able to graph and get the tables. So we're going to repeat this process twice, one with TI Inspire and the other one with the Desmos calculator. So our third example. Graph f of x equals 3 to the x power plus 1. So on my calculator, on new document, no, I don't want to save it, add a graph. We're going to type in this equation right here. 3 to the x power plus 1. So 3, arrow up, 1. Oh, my bad. Wrong one. Delete. It should be x. And again, I want the blinker to go away from the x. So I'm going to press the right button. And now I'm going to do plus 1. Enter. Again, I can see the graph, but I want to get the table values. So in order for me to get the table value, I'm going to do the control button, which is the blue button on my calculator, and then the letter T. Again, this allows you to pop up on the table values. And again, I'm going to scroll up to -2 because that's where my chart is starting from. So -2, 1.11. -1, 1.33. 0, 2, 1, 4, 2, 10. All right, so now again, we're going to do our best to graph this. So we have -2, 1.1, -1, 1.33, 0, 2, 1, 4. And again, my graph goes a little bit more extended. So I'm going to do my best to estimate where these values are. So it's going to be 2, 10. Again, we're going to do our best to mimic that graph. And there we go. So this is the second example going through TI Inspire. The last one, I'm going to do it based off of Desmos. So here, I'm going to graph 3 times 1/2 to the x power. So I'm going to cancel out of this one and retype it. So it's going to be y equals 3 parentheses 1 divided by 2. I'm going to scroll to the right to get out of the fraction. Parentheses a to the b power. And then I'm going to type in x. Again, I can see the graph here. However, I want to use the table values. So again, we're going to go to the table settings. And we're going to click to convert to a table. This way we could get the table values. So now we're going to do -2, 12. -1, 6. 0, 3. 1, 1.5. 2, 0.75. And again, we're going to graph these on the graph provided. So -2, 12. -1, 6. 0, 3. 1.15. So again, careful on the estimation of the decimals. And then 2,75. Again, we're going to do our best to graph it to mimic the graph. So that right there is how you're going to be able to find the table value and then correctly, properly draw these graphs based off the given information. So again, one recommendation I have here is just always go back and check how you typed in your equation. That way you could guarantee that you typed it in correctly. And you can also see mistakes before you have to restart the equation.